Okay, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this month's Black History Series presentation titled Culture, Advocacy, and Education, a panel discussion on the legacy and significance of the Our Day Study Club 90th Anniversary Edition with panelists Marium Tolson-Murtty, Kaitlyn Ellsworth, Cari-Lynn Ristic, and Tramaine Brown. Cari-Lynn is having a little bit of difficulty logging in with her computer, so she's going to join when she can. But for now, I'm going to read off everyone's bios. Marium Tolson-Murtty is a three-time alumna of the University of Windsor, where she completed an honors Bachelor of Arts degree in Communication Studies, a Bachelor of Education, and a Master's of Education degree. Marium is currently a PhD student in education, where her research continues to focus on addressing and dismantling anti-Black racism in education and the systems of oppression imposed upon Black students in their pursuit and completion of post-secondary education. She is also a post-secondary educator with over 20 years of experience helping students, families, and program development. In 2021, Marium was promoted to Director of Anti-Racism Organizational Change in the newly formed Office of the Vice President, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. She currently serves as the President of the Our Day Study Club and as a board member with the Black Council of Windsor-Essex, where she also serves as the Chair of Strategic Planning. She's a member of DWIS, Distinguished Women of International Service, and serves on the United Way Windsor-Essex Board of Directors, in addition to serving on the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion and Belonging Committee, a member of Women United, and a board director chairperson for Opportunities United. She is the founder of the post-secondary education mentoring program called Propel, preparing for the realities of post-secondary education in life. She's a charter member and mentor of Black Boys Code Windsor, and she serves as a board director for Family Fuse. She's also a past member of the Youth Connection Association and serves on several additional committees at the University of Windsor and within the community. In 2022, Marium was recognized by Windsor Women's Enterprise Skills Training West during International Women's Day 2022 with the Influencer Award, and was also recognized as one of Canada's top 100 Black women to watch in 2022 by the Canadian International Women Women of Excellence. Excuse me. This is in addition to being the 2022 nominee for the Windsor-Essex County Chamber of Commerce Business Professional of the Year. Very impressive. We're going to move to Kaitlyn Ellsworth next. She is a sixth-generation Underground Railroad and Black Loyalist descendant from Windsor, Ontario. She is currently the Black Student Support Coordinator in the Office of the Vice President of People, Equity, and Inclusion at the University of Windsor. Kaitlyn has a degree from the University of Windsor, University of Toronto's OISE, Wayne State University, and is working on a Master's of Library and Information Science with a specialization in archival administration at Wayne State University. Kaitlyn teaches the University of Windsor's continuing education course, The Fundamentals of Race and Anti-Black Racism. Kaitlyn is a secretary, treasurer, and scholarship committee chair of the Our Day Study Club, a board member of the Essex County Black Historical Research Society, a board member of the Ontario Alliance of School Educators, a member of the Distinguished Women of International Service, and was recently awarded a 2023 Canada International Black Women of Excellence Top 100 Women to Watch Award. Also extremely impressive. Cari-Lynn Ristic, who I'd mentioned, she's having a little bit of difficulty. She might be in here now, so I'm going to go ahead and, oh, there, perfect. You made it in. Excellent, Cari-Lynn. Perfect timing. So I'm going to read Cari-Lynn's bio now. Cari-Lynn is an employee of Ford Motor Company for 25 years and has held positions in manufacturing, engineering, and quality. Her current role is Global Launch Strategy Process and Planning Manager. At Ford, she is an active member of the Women of Ford and Ford African Ancestry Network Employee Resources Group. Cari-Lynn has a Bachelor of Science Mechanical Engineering from GMI Engineering and Management Institute and a Master of Science Engineering Management from the University of Michigan. She's a member of the Alpha Gamma Delta. While in university, she learned the importance of each one, teach one, and therefore dedicates time to mentoring and participating in STEM programs in her community. She was awarded the STEM Women of Color Technology All-Star Award from Women of Color magazine in 2022 and 2023. She currently serves as a board member at the Amherstburg Freedom Museum in Ontario, Canada, and serves as treasurer for the Our Day Study Club, also Ontario, Canada. Cari-Lynn is married to Goran, 21 years, and they are blessed with two adult children, Isabel and Mateo. Tramaine Brown is our next panelist. She is a sixth-generation Canadian born and raised in Windsor, Ontario. She is the mother of three amazing children and resides in LaSalle, Ontario. She is a federal public servant employed by the Government of Canada for the last 8 years and has worked in different departments. Her current role is in human resources and diversity as a senior project officer with files covering anti-racism, anti-discrimination, diversity, and inclusion across Canada. She is the co-founder of the Black Employee Network, BEN, and co-lead of the Cultural Awareness and Agency Capacity for the Indigenous Reconciliation Working Group, IRWG. Within her agency and an active member of the Interdepartmental Black Employee Network, IBEN, and Anti-Racism Ambassadors Network that serves across the federal government. She is also the National Human Rights Representative for Ontario Region for the PSAC Agricultural Union. Tramaine sits on several committees in Windsor, Essex, including the Our Day Study Club and the Essex County Black Historical Research Society, and within the government space, the Ontario Inclusiveness and Diversity Committee and Racialized Members Committee. She is committed to being at the table to actively listen, learn, and share information with others on how to become anti-racist, break down barriers and systems of oppression, and bring more awareness to inclusion and diversity. Tramaine is passionate about activism and advocacy, but she isn't on the road but when she isn't on the road traveling for work or serving the community, her free time is spent with family, traveling, and hiking and enjoying the golf course. So all extremely impressive. Thank you so much for being here today. So before we begin, I just have a request. If everyone who is not a panelist or myself, if you could please turn off your camera and mute your microphone so that you're not distracting our panelists, that would be greatly appreciated. There will be, following the presentation, the discussion, I'm going to open it up for questions from the audience. At that point, you're welcome to turn your camera on and your microphone on so that you can ask the question. I will also be monitoring the chat. If you would like to put your questions in the chat, I can read that to our panelists as well. And one final note, if you would like to support programming such as our Black History series, you can donate by going to our website, amherstburgfreedom.org. And just a reminder for anyone who's come in late, this presentation is being recorded and it will be uploaded to our social media pages and our YouTube page as well. So let's get started. All right, so this is more of a broad question for our panelists. And thank you all again for being here with us today. The first question I had is if you could just please give us some background information, give the audience background information on the Our Day Study Club. When was it created? Who created this organization and why?
Well, I guess I can get things started. So the Our Day Study Club was founded in 1934. So we are officially in our 90th year and was founded right here in Windsor, Ontario. Pretty much all of the original members, our founding mothers, as we call them, were born and raised and grew up and raised their families within the McDougall Street corridor area. And I know that area has gained a lot of attention due to some recent research that was conducted on that area. And it's just a great historical district within our city. So within that corridor, these women, African Canadian women, Black women, descendants of the Underground Railroad, started a Mothers Club back in 1934. And with this club, it was really meant to, serve the community, serve, young mothers, help families, help in terms of civil rights and advocacy, fighting against, social injustice and things of that nature. And at that time, there were a lot of mothers clubs that were formulating, and it eventually evolved over to the Our Day Study Club with the idea that if you are passionate about something and you want to become proficient at something, spend at least 1 hour a day on developing that craft in order to gain skill within that area. So that's how it really evolved into becoming the Our Day Study Club. But essentially, this was a civil rights activism, advocacy organization by these strong women within the community that just wanted to work against social injustice and really uplift members of the Black community at a time when there was, and not to say that, things have changed very much, but at a time where racial discrimination was at its peak, and we were experiencing job discrimination, housing discrimination. And so these women were very actively involved in the community, again, and speaking out against those efforts, and also making sure that our community stays engaged and working towards advancing the cause of education as well.
Thank you so much for that really thorough description of the organization. Did anyone want to add anything to that before I move forward? I do want to add that Marium was so amazing. A few years ago, she generously did a presentation for this series about the Our Day Study Club specifically. So if you wanted to watch that presentation, you can go to our YouTube page and watch that as well. Today's discussion is different from that because we have the amazing members of the organization here today. So I wanted to ask you all about yourselves, and are you related to any of previous members or founders of this organization, and what motivated you to become a member of this organization?
I can jump in. Good afternoon, everyone. So yes, I am related to Ethel Bishop. She was one of the founding mothers of the Our Day Study Club, so my great-grandmother. My other great-grandmother, Ada Ellsworth, was also a member of the club. My grandma Elsie, she attended meetings, as well as my grandma Agnes, as well as some of my aunts, like my Aunt Nancy. So this is a really important initiative and group for me. I'm a legacy member. There's several of us that have grandmothers or great-grandmothers or great aunts that are founding members. And so it's just, for me, continuing on my family's legacy of advocacy through education specifically. One thing that we are so incredibly proud of in the Our Day Study Club is being able to give out so much money to the descendants of Underground Railroad folks through scholarships and bursaries every year. And so I'm a recipient of one of those scholarships back in 2006. My parents are recipients, my brothers are recipients, my first cousins, my aunts and uncles. So this is really a group that has supported my family throughout 3-4 generations at this point. And so my story is not unique to some of the other folks in the Our Day Study Club, but also people in the community, in the Black community in Windsor, Essex. So it's really important for me to uphold that legacy and ensure that I'm also giving back to the community in the same way that my ancestors did, my great-grandmothers, my aunts, my grandmas, and making sure that when I do have kids, they will be able to participate in something that is such a important part of our Underground Railroad history, specifically in Windsor, Essex, and helping to keep on going.
I'd like to comment here. I can also say that I too was a recipient when I graduated high school of an Our Day Study Club bursary. And that really inspired me to become involved, with the fact that as I continue to journey in my life, I see not a lot of people that look like me wherever I am. And I've learned that education is one of the keys to success. And so this club talks about and values the importance of education and educating young African Canadians, right? Because they're our future. So that's really what inspired me to get involved with the club.
So I'll jump in here. And my story is really different. I don't have a family member that was on the board or a founding member. I'm the first in my family. And I also didn't have the opportunities to continue my education. So for me, it's important because I wanted to make sure I could give back and make sure that other people do have that opportunity. My daughter is a recipient, and some of my younger sisters and nieces also. So it's a little bit of a different perspective for me, and I'm happy to be a part of this organization because of when I was coming up, I didn't have that same opportunity. So be able to support and help others too, I think that's really, really important. And I think about the fact that I don't have the formal education that everyone else has had, and finding out how and where I belong in that. And so education is obviously really, really important to me as well, and wishing that I could have gone back to do that, but making sure it's important now for everyone else and my children. So.
Marium, did you want to speak to your motivations as to why you joined as well?
Sure. I mean, I can remember distinctly. Well, first of all, I knew about the Our Day Study Club for many, many years, and I knew that my mother was a recipient many, many decades ago, and having family members that were part of the organization as well. And, as I got into adulthood and got into my career and things like that, I remember attending an Our Day Study Club luncheon. And Hilda Watkins was the speaker at the time. And Hilda Watkins was the president of the Ontario Teachers Federation at the time. Windsorite, Underground Railroad descendant. Grandmother was a founding member of the organization. Mother was a longtime member of the organization as well. And I just remember listening to, and she was a past recipient of the Our Day Study Club scholarship as well, one of the first, actually. And I just remember listening to her and then just seeing this extremely intelligent, driven, motivated woman that worked her way through the education system. It just spoke to me as an educator, and just to see the heights that she ascended to, and, becoming the president of the Ontario Teachers Federation, knowing that was such a demanding position to be in. And for someone from Windsor, from our community, to ascend to that level, it just really spoke to me. And I just thought right then and there, okay, I want to find out more about how I can be involved with this organization, because I want to give back to my community. I want to be involved with what these women are involved with. And my passion has always been about not only pursuing, but promoting post-secondary education to youth. And just from that moment, I joined the organization and have never looked back. And that was in the early 2000s. So, and it's just been, a privilege and an honor to be part of the organization ever since.
Oh, amazing, amazing. All of you have such amazing reasons for joining, and I think it's so amazing that for different reasons, I mean, scholarship award recipients, and then others who want to continue to make change that they didn't have the benefits of having when they were growing up. So I think that's absolutely amazing. And Marium, in your introduction to talking about, or your description to talking about the Our Day Study Club, you mentioned they were a civil rights organization, which I'm so happy that you did, because I don't think it's often that people look to organizations that are possibly dealing with etiquette or education, things like that, as civil rights organizations, but they absolutely were. And I was wondering if you could talk about or all of you could talk about the Our Day Study Club's role in bringing civil rights activists, politicians, entertainers to the Windsor area. If you could talk about some of those figures and also why they came to this area.
Sure, I can definitely mention a few things, and I definitely invite my fellow Our Day Study Club members to interject, because I'm sure I'm going to forget something. But what stands out for me is just the notion that they spoke up against injustices. They definitely participated in letter writing campaigns, and corresponded with folks in Dr. Martin Luther King's Jr. camp and things of that nature, and spoke out against what the injustices that they saw going on not only in Canada but in the United States as well, and even in times of war, they adopted a young soldier and were doing letter writing campaigns with young soldiers to let them know what was going on back home and keeping them encouraged and things of that nature. I can also think of, because the Hour a Day Study Club love to host community events and love to host high tea events and things of that nature. And one of the events that they hosted back in, I believe it was the 80s, if I'm not mistaken, somebody please correct me on that, when Shirley Chisholm came to Windsor as well. And for folks that aren't familiar with who Shirley Chisholm is, she is the first Black woman to run for president on officially on an official ticket. So, just knowing that there were women that we stand on the shoulders of who were hobnobbing with women, significant women that were making change, making space not only for Black people, but for Black women and for their voices to be heard. So just knowing that they had those connections, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. I'm going to invite my colleagues to speak to other things that might have been significant to them, because I just think of those two instances in particular and just think, wow, just you think of Windsor, and I think people think of, oh, this small group of Black women who probably are voiceless, that they're not really going to be of significance. And just knowing they were able to connect with people who were doing great things on the state side and sort of maybe implementing some of that over here in Canada is just, I can't even imagine it. Just in terms of that fortitude and that drive and desire to want to do better and to see things change for people who look like us within our community. So I definitely invite my colleagues to add anything to that.
Yeah, I think it's important to kind of contextualize historically where the Our Day Study Club sits in terms of emancipatory participation. So being founded in the 1930s, post First World War, but just before the Second World War, during a depression, there was a need to have advocacy in this group because of all of the social injustice that were happening. But we also have to recognize that Underground Railroad peoples intrinsically are always looking back into their past and making sure that folks that didn't necessarily get the same opportunity to come up on the Underground Railroad also we're using our voice to help them. If we're looking at 1800s, people were sending people money. They were making sure that they were also participating on the Underground Road to free people. So it's not outside of the boundaries that the Our Day Study Club would just continue that legacy and make sure that our cousins in the United States, because one thing that wasn't mentioned is we have members that are American by citizenship, but Canadian by culture, I guess you could say. And so we are always crossing the border. We cross the border to meet sometimes, but we at all times have had American citizens in Our Day Study Club, and we continue to have American citizens today. And so we're always, as Underground Railroad people, looking back as to how we can help our cousins in the United States. So as Marium said, civil rights advocacy in terms of writing letters, but in general, members of the Our Day Study Club, it might not have been in the name of the Our Day Study Club, were participating in Emancipation Day celebrations as well and helping to bring big names like Mary McLeod Bethune, like Daisy Bates, like Fred Shuttlesworth. They all had their hand in bringing those people. If you really did a really deep dive into emancipation in Windsor, it's almost like, well, who didn't come to Windsor at that point in terms of the most popular civil rights movement folks, but also artists. Martin Luther King Jr. was here several times. So it's not out of bounds that the Our Day Study Club wouldn't have a hand in that, because they would have been, well, we're the longest lasting actual Black club at this point, but was very active. At one point, the Our Day Study Club had over 100 members, which in my head is kind of unfathomable just don't understand how you run meetings with 100 members on a monthly basis. So it cracks me up when I see how many people are in the club. But we as Our Day Study Club folks are always making sure that we are participating in advocacy. And so I'm really happy to know that my ancestors, the folks that came before me in the Our Day Study Club, are doing exactly what we have decided to do in the community as well. Like, we're just continuing on their legacy of advocacy and activism. And so as a student of the civil rights, I love reading about who came here to this little city that lots of people haven't heard of, but, you know, because of the proximity to Detroit, have participated in every single civil rights or social justice movement in some way. So I'm really happy to be able to continue that legacy.
Okay, well, that brought up something when you'd mentioned giving a voice. The thought of giving a name as well of a recent project, correct me if I'm wrong, of a common practice was referring to a woman by their husband's first name, and I believe that you did research and corrected that wrong of giving a name to these amazing women who did so much for this organization. I was wondering if you could speak to that a little bit, the process of it. Was it difficult to come across the names of these amazing women? Because I think it's such an amazing thing that you did to name them because we know that they did all these amazing things, but I think it's important to have a name with that as well.
You know, Lorene, that's something that's stuck in my craw for quite a long time. So contextualizing it once again, women weren't necessarily called by their first names. They were called Mrs. Samuel Bishop instead of Ethel Bishop. It was just initials. And so as someone who was not raised in that era, I was like, these folks need to have their names put everywhere. Because who is Mrs. Samuel Bishop? Like, who is she? You know, that was my question. Now, it was relatively easy for the most part for most of the people, because a lot of us are related to the founding mothers. So it was just about asking somebody, or at least, you know, reaching back into oral history to find out who these people were. We did have a really hard time with one of them. I think it wasn't Mrs. White. It was one of them. Cannot remember. We couldn't figure out who it was. And actually Irene did some digging in the census to find out what her name was. But it was really important for us as, 20th century, 21st century women to make sure that we're giving name to our ancestors, our Black woman ancestors, because they weren't necessarily always afforded that. And so it's up to us to make sure that we say their name. It's important to have that as a historic record. And as somebody who is training to be a historian, that really matters. When your name is not present in historic records, that's forever, right? And so by kind of reconciling that, we are now repairing some of that historic record and making sure that we are using a Black ethic of care in terms of description, even in an archival sense. They wouldn't necessarily you wouldn't be able to find anything in an archive if their names were attached to it, because it wasn't their first name. And so there's a lot that goes with reclaiming their names, but it was a really important process for us to do.
And is the list of their names accessible anywhere?
Yeah, it's on our website, and it's under membership. I can actually link the website in the chat. I think it's important for people to kind of see some pictures, see what's going on in terms of our website.
Absolutely, that would be great. And I'm also going to be sharing a post on our Facebook page, linking you to the Our Day Facebook page as well, so that you can learn more. But for anyone in today's chat, thank you so much for adding that, Kaitlyn. So we've been talking about the past and the present. I was wondering if you could talk about how the organization has changed or how it stayed the same in terms of its initiatives or operation.
Well, I will say that, and I would definitely love to hear from my colleagues, but but I know that when I came into the role of the president, I think one of the things that I just kept saying over and over and over again, I want to bring the Our Day Study Club into the 21st century. And, this is a women's organization. We, once again, it's about our voices, and just to refer back to the actual names of our founding members, that was a huge component of it as well. Like being a Black women's organization, descendants of the Underground Railroad, and just making sure that we're laying this or continuing with this legacy and this heritage. We could not really sort of get into the weeds of calling ourselves a women's organization if we weren't actually calling our founding mothers by their names, right? So, but even beyond that, and no disrespect to any of our past presidents or founding mothers, but we just had to evolve over the decades just in terms of how we do things. Now, in terms of social justice advocacy, I mean, that's definitely still at the forefront. We definitely want to make sure we speak up against, speak out against injustices, but definitely our mandate is to advance the cause of education. We want to ensure that there are no barriers in place, especially financial barriers in place, in order for any of our kids that want to go on to pursue post-secondary education, that we can assist with that however we can. So our outreach efforts have grown, which is fantastic. So that's one of the things that, I've seen change. And the use of technology. I mean, something as relatively simple as that, in terms of an email address, a website, electronic applications for our students, and that was important as well, because for the 21st century student that's applying for a scholarship or a bursary, you have to meet them where they're at. They're not necessarily going to carry around a paper application with them. They're on their devices all the time. So you have to have the information available to them that's easily accessible. And I think, that was just a few of the things that really helped us in terms of getting our name out there a little bit more. And it's interesting because a lot of times when you'll hear about the Our Day Study Club within maybe the last 5 or 10 years, I think people think of it in terms of, oh yeah, the Our Day Study Club. Oh, are they still active? I think they almost thought of this as an organization, a little organization that could. But even though Kaitlyn said, back in the day, they were like 100 members plus strong, right? And, we probably saw that dwindle down over the years too. But just in terms of the how we present ourselves and the medium through which we present ourselves has definitely changed. And also one thing I'll just add as well, because when our founding mothers started the organization, many of these women were homemakers. And so they were home, they were part of the church, they were part of the broader community, because, at that time it takes a village to raise a child. I'm sure my grandmother was watching out for the kids down the street and so on and so forth, like many of our grandmothers did. And we're today, every single member of the Our Day Study Club is a working woman, so I mean, working outside of the home. I don't want to discredit anyone, our founding mothers, and even since then, to discredit the work that they were doing within the home was not work. That I'm not saying that at all. But many of the women that are part of the Our Day Study Club today are definitely working outside of the home. They are career women, which you did not necessarily see 90 years ago. So yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to hear for especially some of our newer members, in terms of what they've seen during their time with the Our Day Study Club so far.
So I'll jump in here because I am a newer member. I'll say a couple years. And one of the things that I've come to learn and really appreciate is the fellowship aspect, right? Any group that I'm a member of, we typically handle business, that's what the meeting's for. Whereas, I've come to learn from the wonderful group of women in this, in this group, this club, that fellowship through the years has been important. And that's, I think, very good, right? Because that's what keeps families connected, right? That's what keeps us as a membership really wanting to put our arms around each other, and just get to know each other on a deeper level than just the business of the club.
Yeah, and to piggyback on both Cari and Marium, if we look historically at the Our Day Study Club, what we do now looks much different than what they were doing in terms of programming. They were doing concerts and teas, and this is, I mean, like regular, like every 3 months there was a big event. Every meeting that they had, they actually invited a guest speaker into their meeting to talk about whatever they wanted to talk about that day. If you do peruse some of the archives within the Windsor Star or even at the Amherstburg Freedom Museum, you'll see conversations about who they did bring in as guest speakers, talking about Africa and Ethiopia. I'm really concerned about Black peoples globally, even though that's not the narrative that is actually propounded in terms of Windsor Black people. And so we've kind of, I think it's a sign of the times. Like we are working outside of the home, so we don't engage in as much programming as we did before. I think it's just we don't have the membership to do it, number one, and we just have different time priorities at this point. But I would love to see some of that come back. The scholarship has been the longest standing program that we've run. And it went a little bit dormant for a little bit, like during the 80s and 90s. The club was a little bit dormant, still being kept up, but not as active in the community, which is unfortunate. But the scholarship specifically is the most long-lasting legacy of the Our Day Study Club, and it's important for us to put that at the forefront at all times, because the fact that in the 1930s and 40s, people were thinking about education and giving $25 as a scholarship, which is a lot of money, even though, now we can't even get food for that, like a meal for that price. But $25 is a lot of money back then. And so the way we've continued on some of the things, our meetings look almost exactly the same as the meetings that they would have ran back in the day, but we've moved into the 21st century with some of the technology that we use and how we engage in programming.
And speaking of the scholarship, could you share some more details about the scholarship? When are students able to apply? Is this a yearly scholarship? Just for any students who are listening to today's presentation.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for that question. The Our Day Study Club scholarships and bursaries are eligible for any student that is a descendant of the Underground Railroad and are graduating from a secondary institution, so high school. We basically guarantee students who meet those two criteria that they will get money from us. The amount varies every year, just depending on how much money that we bring in. But for the most part, we are giving sums of money from $1,500 all the way up to $3,500 over the last, I think, probably 5 years. We've upped the amount of money that we're giving out. Every year depends on how many students apply, how much they're going to get, but we've been increasing the amount every single year. Students can apply as of now. The application is available on our website. I have not, as the chair of the scholarship committee, we have not advertised it yet, just because it is quite a bit of time before the deadline. So it is available if somebody wanted to go check it out or if they wanted to apply for it. It is we do this yearly. So this year is our 90th anniversary. We will be having a large celebration in November, and that's where we will be giving out our scholarships and bursaries to our recipients. And every year we have something for our recipients, which is a really big deal. It's something to bring our students and their families together with the Our Day Study Club members. We've held it sometimes at the Amherstburg Freedom Museum, which is really special because it is directly attached to the students' heritage and legacy. This past year in 2023, we held it at the John Freeman Walls Historic Site and Underground Railroad Museum in Puce, Ontario. Very dear to my heart place because I used to work, well, I work there sometimes, I do tours, but it's directly attached to my family's history with Puce First Baptist Church right down the road. And it made for such a wonderful backdrop to have like historic buildings behind the students, wonderful pictures. They all are on our social media if you'd like to look at them. It was kind of a dreary day, but because of that, everything looked so amazing with the backdrop. Really, the colors popped, our skin was popping, and so that it's important for us to recognize our students in that way and bring them together. This year, a lot of the students actually brought their grandparents, which was great. Really making sure that we are just encompassing the whole family and celebrating the students.
I think that's amazing that your organization and the scholarship is bringing the generations together. I think it's amazing that those students brought their grandparents with them. And for anyone watching today, you can find more information on the scholarship on the Our Day Study Club website. It's ourdaystudyclub.org. If you'd like to donate as well to this scholarship, that would be amazing as well. You can help a number of students out with their education. And you mentioned your 90th anniversary as well. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the celebration. What should we expect? Is there a date, or should we just stay tuned to your social media pages for more?
Well, we do have some information up now, but please save the date for November 9th. We are going to have a mega celebration, and we're going to have things throughout the year as well. So we are very, very excited about that. We cannot announce our guest speaker just yet, but please save the date. That's one of our goals as well, just in terms of making sure that the Our Day Study Club is honored, it's recognized. I mean, this is an organization founded in little old Windsor, Ontario, by these Black women, Underground Railroad descendants. And for me, and I've said this to club members over and over again, we need to be recognized on a national scale. The fact that, we are the longest serving African Canadian women's organization, and we've been able to give out so much money in scholarship funds. And up until recently, those scholarship funds, the money that we received, they weren't from organizations, big organizations or anything like that. Those were just through donations from community members. Now, as of late, because we've been getting the word out, we've been able to attach to unions and organizations, and they've been able, in companies that have learned and sort of invested in what we are doing and recognize and honor what we are doing for students in the community. So they have been able to make their donations and really get behind what we're doing as an Our Day Study Club, as an organization. So, but before that, it was just me, you, members, extended family members making donations, and with that we were still giving away a nice chunk of money each and every single year for students and helping them pay for their education. So with that, how many organizations can really say that they did that grassroots fundraising to get money for scholarships and bursaries to send the students to school? So definitely on that day, at that event, at our gala or celebration, we will be talking about that even further. And, we definitely want the Our Day Study Club to receive the recognition that it deserves. Back in 2017, we did receive a Mayor's Heritage Award, which was, nice. But, I think, and we're not being selfish about it, we really think, we are doing something great in preserving the legacy of this organization. So I know I went off on a tangent a little bit, but I would just say for our 90th celebration, just please stay tuned. Please stay tuned for additional things that we'll have throughout the year as well, leading up to our November 9th event that we'll have. So please keep an eye on our socials, our emails, and things of that nature as well.
I can't wait until November 9th. And as always, if you have any posters or anything you want me to share on our social media, I'd be happy to do so. And I just want to respect all of your time before we open it up to the audience. I did have one more question about, we talked about the scholarship and how you can apply, but about being a member. Is there criteria to become a member, and how do people go about doing that?
Well, the only criteria is that you have to be a descendant of the Underground Railroad. We say Dotur, so D-O-T-U-R, and I have to attribute that to our past president, Gloria Heidi, who came up with that acronym, Daughters, Daughters of the Underground Railroad. So as long as you are a descendant, you can just reach out to us and let us know why you're interested, and we can have a further chat about becoming a member. But Lorraine, I want to know if I could throw a question in there, and I'm going to throw it to the two individuals on the call that are parents to young adults, and
Absolutely.
who were
Yeah.
recent recipients of the Our Day Study Club scholarship and bursary. So Tramaine and Cari-Lynn, what did it mean for both of you to have, children come into the Our Day Study Club? Because, they're part of the fold now, they're along with both of you being members. But how did it feel as a parent to know that they were recipients of this award? Because I look at it as a legacy, in preserving our heritage. So what did it mean for you? And if you're able to, what did it mean for your children as well?
Well, for me, well, it was an honor, first of all, to have my daughter attend university or post-secondary education, and to be a recipient. And it was exciting that she's gone into education as well. So she's in her final year of teachers college. And being a single mom, it was important to make sure that those funds were there to help assist with her education. I am obviously employed, but at the same time, having that extra bit definitely helps to remove those barriers. For her, I think she was really excited to be able to meet the criteria to receive the money, but also she's learning a lot in what it means to give back to the community. Hopefully one day, depending on if she's still in Canada, which I heard she's moving away, but I would love for her to actually also be a member if it works out for her, and if she does end up coming back to Canada and living over here. But it is a legacy thing. It feels good to know that I am a member, but she's also the recipient. Even though she was a recipient before I became a member, but that kind of helped make my decision. And to see that beautiful luncheon that was put on, seeing the work that the Our Day Study Club has done over the years, I had heard about it, but I didn't really know too much. But once I attended that and saw all the faces and all the people that were familiar, and to hear the story of how important the organization is, and then kind of saying, man, I want to get in on that. I want to be able to give back. I want to make sure that those opportunities are passed down further generations. And just being so proud, sitting there knowing like my daughter is up there up front getting that scholarship award. So for me, that's why it was so important. And I'm actually grateful, because if it weren't like in conversation and having conversations with Kaitlyn and then Marium to find out about it, I wouldn't really have known how to even get involved. So that's just for me how important it was.
Yeah, and so I can definitely say, it was, you know, Marium, you talked about legacy. I didn't think about it that way, right? Because I got the scholarship, and then my daughter, a couple years ago, she got a scholarship. She's now studying at Waterloo, and my son, just this past year, he got a scholarship as well, and he's studying at University of Windsor. So yeah, that's really something that I need to put into my mind, right? There's legacy there. And absolutely over the moon with pride, you know, overseeing two young people now getting accolades for their work, right, in their high school years, and also understanding, you know, money, getting the money helps them through their educational pursuits. So yeah, super proud. Thanks for the question.
Yes, thank you for that excellent question, Marium. I'm so glad to hear that I mean, as you said, legacy, but that it through the generations, it has positively impacted your family so much. So I've asked a lot of questions so far, so I want to open it up to the audience. Does anyone in the audience have any questions that they would like to ask? You can turn your camera on and your mic on if you'd like to ask the question directly, or you can put it in the chat. Or if you want to just have a comment, you don't have to ask a question. Or if any of you in the audience are related to someone who is in the Our Day Study Club, we'd love to hear your story as well.
So I'd like to add something onto what Cari and Tramaine said.
Sure.
I think also we're talking about the Our Day Study Club and when the students do get their scholarships or bursaries. We don't necessarily talk about the support that comes behind it too. So all of these students now have access to women in the club that they might have before, but they have access to us in a different way. Most of us are working in in a whole bunch of different areas in different sectors, but there's a few of us in education. There's a few of us who are engineers. Some are retired, so they have a whole different perspective on what's going on. And we don't often talk about the actual social supports when you get these type of scholarships. Now, I've received scholarships from other organizations and I've never heard from them again, right? But I mean, in my case, most of the people that were in the Our Day Study Club are related to me, so I would hear from them here or there. In 2016, I was invited to just give a little talk about what it meant to be a recipient of the Our Day Study Club at a luncheon. And so we do pull back with our past recipients to kind of make sure that they're still in the fold with us. The last few years, it's been really interesting because I work at the University of Windsor. A lot of them are actually here with me. So I see them walking down on campus, and I can just message them in a different way than if they weren't on the campus with me. But it provides a different level of support even beyond the financial aspect.
That's a really good point. So I'm not seeing any comments or questions. So I guess I'll just, I just had one more question I wanted to ask before we end. What are your hopes for the Our Day Study Club for the future? Oh, and we do have a comment. I'll read it after if anyone has an answer to that question.
I can go first because my hope is to really reach the younger generation, right? To kind of get that membership at a younger age. I guess that's what I would look for, and I want to get going. You know, I know when they're in school, they've got their minds on things and stuff like that. But, you know, when they start to graduate from their post-secondary, right, their university, college days, you know, trying to pull some of the past recipients even in to the fold, right? Reaching out, finding other, you know, young members that want to join us in our mission.
Thank you, Cari-Lynn. We did have a comment from Joy, and thank you to Danielle for answering it. Joy had asked about how a donation can be made and if it's through the website. And thank you, Danielle, for adding the link to the Our Day Study Club's donate page on their website. So it doesn't look like we have any more questions or comments. So I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for being here today. I know you are taking time out of your schedule to be here, but I just am so grateful to all of you for being here and all the work that you do. This is such an amazing organization, and you deserve so much more credit. I mean, you guys have been here for 90 years, and I mean, all the work that you're doing, all the lives that you've impacted, I think it's absolutely incredible what you do. So thank you again so much for joining me today and answering my questions and asking amazing questions as well. And I just want to leave it open to you if you have anything else you wanted to say. Go ahead.
And Lorraine, one more thing we forgot to mention that we have an exhibit in the works.
Oh, yes, you're right.
Yes, coming to.
Yes.
I just remembered that. So
thank you.
yes,
Yes.
there is an exhibit about the Our Day Study Club, obviously to recognize the 90th anniversary of this wonderful organization. At the Amherstburg Freedom Museum, there's a lot of great archives currently housed there. So we are currently working on an exhibit. So that will be available soon. So please keep an eye out for your emails and social media, because we are going to be so thrilled and eager and excited to promote that. So please stay tuned. We hope to have that up and running very, very, very soon.
Thank you for adding that. And we're so excited here at the museum to be partnering with you to put together this exhibit so that even more people can learn about your amazing organization. We do have another comment in the chat. Amazing women, much respect. Yako, thank you. So thank you again so much for being here. And thank you to our audience for joining us as well. And have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.